the false antagonist in our life is a really great way of thinking about a troll. So an antagonist is someone who pushes back against the protagonist in a story to stop the protagonist from succeeding. When you have a troll, they're the antagonist. And when you transform the mindset you have about that troll, about that antagonist, and you start to look for what lesson you can learn from them, take whatever it is that they're doing and turn that into something that empowers you, that educates you, that inspires you, that makes you more determined. They turn from antagonists or trolls into false antagonists, people who actually turned out to be allies and they didn't even realize. In fact, they didn't even want to be your ally, but they can control what's in your head. So therefore, you're in control. I love it because you're turning the troll, turning the antagonist into a false antagonist by making it so that they're actually providing value for you. And little do they know, those poor, poor souls. Welcome to the Changing Minds podcast. I'm Owen Fitzpatrick, and this is the podcast about thinking for a change. Each week, we'll explore behavioral science and how we can use it to take over the world. Improve our lives. Hello there. Welcome to another episode of the Changing Minds podcast. For this episode, we're going to be talking about the power of mentors, allies, and trolls. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, okay, Owen, I get the idea of the power of mentors. I get the idea of the power of allies. But what do you mean by the power of trolls? Well, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through a way of thinking that has really helped me to be able to handle not just the vast array of knowledge and wisdom and greatness that I've gotten from so many people that have become mentors to me that I've talked about on another episode, or the allies that have supported me and my friends and the people that I care about and that care about me, but also the trolls that show up and that attack every now and then. And they do so for lots of different reasons. We're not going to spend a copious amount of time on that, but I do want to share with you some of the things that I've found extremely beneficial for me that I think you might find very beneficial for you too. And that is what we're all here to talk about. You too. Not the band, but you as well. So let's start by talking about mentoring. And what is mentoring? Well, when we talk about stories or storytelling and we talk about mentoring, we're really talking about the process whereby the guide or the mentor in a story helps the hero or protagonist to be able to overcome the monster or overcome the difficulty or overcome the challenge that they face. So in many ways, when we have a mentor in a story, the mentor is the wizard, the guide, that person that tends to help empower you either with strength, could be physical strength, could be mental strength or emotional strength, or through wisdom or insights or ideas or strategies, protocols or tactics that allow you to be able to do the kinds of things that you want to do, to achieve the kind of results that you want to achieve, to be able to overcome the problems that you want to overcome, to manage and handle the monsters in your way. And so if you think about the stories we tell ourselves stories all the time. And those stories become one of the bedrocks for the beliefs that we have. And indeed, in belief leadership, one of the most important elements of the scaled framework that I've mentioned before is the S for stories. And this really is about the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves about life, about other people, about the way the world works, about specific events that happen to us. It's also about the stories we're told by other people. And it's really the stories that we buy into, the narratives that we buy into. And inside of all of those stories or narratives, we have certain people in our life that come up time and time again that we see as mentors and we see as allies. And let's first of all start to look at the mentors and the allies. And so mentors are people that help you to be able to learn something that you didn't know before. And there's a number of different types of mentors I want to talk about. The first one is what I call achievement examples. And then there's advisors, there's what we call spotters, and there's also informal mentors. So let me walk you through. This is just a framework which I think really helps understand exactly who these mentors are in your life. And when you understand this framework, you can start to search and ask yourself, have I got mentors in all four of these areas? And once you recognize whether you do or don't, it will allow you then to be able to find more mentors that can help you in more wonderful ways. So first of all, we have what we call achievement examples. These are people that are experts in whatever space you're looking to improve in, but they've demonstrated that they're successful. So for example, if you get a mentor that's an expert in terms of money and they happen to have been where you are, and they've made it work. So, for example, you want to be the best coach out there. And so you get mentored by an incredible coach that's regarded by many as the best coach out there. And then they teach you the secrets to success. They walk you through how they've managed to successfully do what it is that they've done. So by them providing you with their example of how they achieved success, you can achieve that success too. And sometimes these mentors aren't always people that you meet or people that you know. Sometimes you read a book, right? Or you listen to a podcast or whatever from these people, and they walk you through, they reverse engineer how they were successful in terms of what they did. And so it's really good for you to ask yourself, what are the kinds of things you want to achieve? What are the kinds of successes that you want to get? And who's already made that happen? What is it that you can do to learn from them? Can you reach out to them? Can you interview them on your podcast? Can you read their book? Can you watch videos of them on YouTube? Can you even get a conversation with them? What is it that you can do to learn from those people? These are what we call achievement example mentors. There's also advisors, and advisors are people that might not necessarily have all of the answers. They might not be ridiculously wealthy, for example, if you want to be mentored in terms of finances, or they might not be the fittest people on planet Earth, but they know their stuff. They're experts, and therefore they can give you advice. They can give you wisdom. They certainly know more than you do. And so some of your mentors will not be at the very top of their field, but they should know more than you. They should know more than you about what you're trying to learn. And so what you want is you want certain people that can give you advice, that can give you recommendations or suggestions, that can help you to be able to improve and get better and do better as a result of it. So what is it that you can learn from people that are advisors to you? And how can you start to have that impact you as well? You've also got mentors that are what I call spotters. And spotters are mentors that are able to give you feedback. These are people that are able to watch you do what you do and then give you feedback about what you need to improve on. So for example, I've got a number of marketing spotters in my life, where I can send out some, copy that I've created, promoting myself in some way, and they're able to go through it and spot and identify what they think could be improved. So these are mentors that are able to help you by spotting and seeing what you need to work on. They're able to watch you in action, and they're able to help you by giving you advice. Great coaches that you work with can often do this, as can great trainers if you're partaking in a training course, for example. But these are people that are able to spot the things that you need to tweak and improve. And once again, they can be extremely valuable and helpful for you. And then you also have informal mentors. And informal mentors are people that they wouldn't see themselves as mentors per se, and you wouldn't see them as mentors per se, but you learn lessons all the time. In another episode, I talked about the lessons I've learned during my life. I just gave you an example of some of the lessons I've learned. And some of those were formal lessons that I learned in courses or trainings. But some of the lessons were lessons that people didn't even know they were giving me. And so I think it's important to recognize what is it that you can learn and what is it that you have learned from more informal relationships in your life. It could be extremely valuable for you to start to look out at all of the great wisdom that you get that you're not even aware that you're getting. It's not like a formal part of the process. And when you train your brain to start to search for that and hunt for that, you'll find yourself getting a lot more out of it. So one bit of advice I have is start to look for these different types of mentors. Have you got an achievement example mentor? Have you got an advisor mentor? Have you got a spotter mentor? And what kind of informal mentors do you have? And when you start to train yourself to look for these different types of mentors, you'll start to find yourself opening up the possibility of you being able to learn a lot more and to be able to discover a lot more information and valuable advice and valuable wisdom indeed that can help you to continuously improve and optimize how well you are doing. Now, as well as mentors, we also have what we call allies. And an ally is not someone that might teach you or educate you in some way, but an ally is someone who has your back. An ally is someone who's a friend who supports you in some way. And there's three different types of allies that I wanted to share with you. First of all, we have supporters. These are allies that, like I said, have your back. They want you to succeed. They're always cheering you on. Whenever you post something positive on Facebook, they're like, you're amazing. You're wonderful. That's so great. Now, I know some of you probably have certain friends that they're bad news friends. They're the kind of friends that you can tell them the bad news and they're actually quite good. But if you tell them good news, if you tell them how great you're doing, they are going to create as much negativity as they can. And it's like a second nature to them. They don't even mean to be bad. but it's just like you tell them something good and immediately it rubs them up the wrong way. And there's a million different reasons why, but they will go after you. So I know we all might have friends like that or people in our life like that. But what's important is that we recognize the supporters are the opposite. Whenever things are going well, they're like, yes, you can do it. Whenever things are going badly, I'm here for you. You can do it. I know things are tough, but you'll get through it. They're the kind of people you need. You need that kind of positivity in your life. But you also need the challengers. These are the second types of allies. The challengers are people who challenge you to become better than you are. They don't just give you empty praise, or it's not that the supporters will give you empty praise either. It'll be valid praise, but they don't just praise you. Challengers challenge you. They expect more of you. They expect you to continuously improve and optimize, and they're constantly expecting you to do better than you did before. And these are important allies in your life as well. And sometimes we can ignore these allies because we cannot see them as allies. We see them as being too negative. But oftentimes when you search beyond the negativity, their interests are they just want you to improve. They want you to get better. They want you to be better. And so it's imperative for us to give ourselves these kind of people, to look in your life for the kind of people that will challenge you, that will challenge you to become better. If you want to get better at table tennis or ping pong, and you play people that are always just like hitting it softly to you and making it easy for you, you're not going to really improve that much. Now, it might help your confidence because you're always hitting the ball, therefore that's good. But to get really good, you need to play against people that are as good as you and certainly better than you. And when you play people that are better than you over and over and over again, you will improve. You will get better because they challenge you to up your game, quite literally. We need to do the same thing in terms of our life. And then the third type of allies that we want is what we call habit example allies. So as opposed to the achievement example mentors, who are examples of people who have already succeeded and are reverse engineering, teaching you what they did so you can do it too, habit example allies are people that have the kind of habits that you want to have. So maybe they wake up early in the morning, or they have a morning routine that you want to develop, or they meditate a lot, or they're pretty calm under pressure, or they exercise regularly, or they eat healthy, or they are doing well in terms of great money habits. Whatever it is that they do, it's something that you want to start to do. So you surround yourself with people that have these kind of habits already. They have the routines, they have the habits where they're automatically doing these kind of things consistently. And as a result of that, the more you spend time around these people, the more you'll start to find yourself engaging in those habits as well. It's a very, very powerful way. You're surrounding yourself with a community that supports the kind of ways of thinking that you want to be able to have in your life. So you've got mentors and allies. And again, for the allies, look through in your life, have you got supporter allies? People that will support you, and try to search for those people and be there for them, right? Support them. Encourage them, make them feel good about the successes that they've achieved. Then you also want the challenger allies, those who challenge you to become better than you're currently performing. And then finally, you also have the habit examples. These are people that you can find in your life that are engaging in the kind of habits that you want to engage in as well. And so try to find the 4 types of mentors that you need, and try to find the 3 types of allies that you need, and try to ensure that these people are in your life and they're there for you. And then the third type of person that you're looking at is the troll. And straight away, we have to define what we mean by the troll. Well, oftentimes when we talk about a troll, we're talking about the online people who post stuff onto your profile or attack you, or whenever you share something, they have a go at you, or they say nasty things about you online. But I'm not just talking about online. I'm also talking offline. I'm talking about anyone who attacks you from the wrong place, not to challenge you so that you can get better, but tries to bring you down, as we call it, a peg or two. They try to make you feel lesser than you are. And sometimes it's coming from their own insecurity, the fact that they feel that they're not as good as you and they're jealous of you. Sometimes it's a case of them not liking you for some reason. Maybe they feel slighted by you, or they feel offended by you, or they just don't like your face. I'm sure there's people out there that don't like my face, even though I think it looks quite good. But people will look at you and go, oh, I'm going to attack him. And then they go, well, I'm doing this. They play the piano at you. No, they will type in things, but also in terms of real life, they will do it. And what you got to be careful of is they don't just always do it in a brutal way. They don't just do it when they just, verbally attack you or say nasty things. Sometimes it's a backhanded insult, right? Or is that a backhanded compliment? It's one or the other. They pretend to say something positive, but actually they're attacking you. And sometimes it's seeming like they're disagreeing with your point, but really it's a dig at you. They're not really disagreeing with your point. They're trying to ruffle your feathers. They're trying to attack you in some way. And when people do that, what's imperative to realize is that so often it really isn't about you. It's nothing to do with you, actually. It's them expressing their own internal turmoil in such a way that happens to externalize the villain, which is you. You become the villain in their story in that moment, and therefore they're taking it out on you. Some people also get a sadistic pleasure out of this. It's the sadomasochistic thing. Sadism, when you get pleasure out of someone else feeling bad or hurting other people. Masochistic, when you get pleasure out of hurting yourself. Well, the sadistic thing is also something that some of these trolls will enjoy. And once again, it's not always online. Sometimes it's in person as well. And these could be friends or even family members who don't mean it in the sense of they're not waking up in the morning going, how can I ruin Owen's day or how can I ruin this person's day? But it's just habitual for them in this way. And it's kind of like an automatic response that they have, which is very much etched into their narrative or their stories, the stories that they're telling themselves about the world. So that's a little bit of the psychology of the why. But what I mean by the trolls is to be able to alchemize and transform whatever it is that they say in such a way that it helps you. And this is what I call the false antagonist. So we have antagonists in our life, and we'll talk a bit more about some of the other people in our life, but the false antagonist in our life is a really great way of thinking about a troll. So an antagonist is someone who pushes back against the protagonist in a story to stop the protagonist from succeeding. So a monster is the antagonist. The hero fights the monster. The hero is the protagonist, and the monster is the antagonist. When you have a troll, they're the antagonist. They're trying to stop you from succeeding in what you want to do. And when you transform the mindset you have about that troll, about that antagonist, and you start to look for what lesson you can learn from them. In other words, you might even take on the notion of pronoia, which is believing that the world is out there conspiring to help you in some way. Then you start to take whatever it is that they're doing and you try to turn that into something that empowers you, that educates you, that inspires you, that makes you more determined. It's almost like you want to thank them, right? And you don't have to thank them, but in your mind, you can thank them for this lesson, thank them for this inspiration, thank them for this negative motivation that will drive you to be successful just to show them. And when you start to look at this, they turn from antagonists or trolls into false antagonists, people who you thought were antagonists, but actually turned out to be allies. And they didn't even realize. In fact, they didn't even want to be your ally, but they can't do whatever is in your head. They can't control what's in your head. So therefore, you're in control. I love it. And so you take whatever is, and it's not always easy, but if you can do it, if you can practice it, it's a game changer. Literally, it's a story changer because you're turning the troll, turning the antagonist into a false antagonist by making it so that they're actually providing value for you. And little do they know, those poor, poor souls. You also have other characters that might come up over the time. You have, of course, false allies as well. And a false ally is someone who pretends to be for you, but actually they're trying to be against you. But once again, think about it like this. A false ally pretends to be your friend, but actually goes after you. In other words, they trolls or antagonists. They pretend to be an ally, but actually become an antagonist. However, remember, you can turn an antagonist or a troll into a false antagonist. So you can actually go when someone appears as a false ally. So they pretend to be friendly, but they're actually attacking you. You can then turn them back into an ally, not for the reasons that they think, so that they're not pulling the wool over your eyes. They're not convincing you of something negative. You're being able to see through them, but you're also able to take whatever they're giving you and use it and leverage it for something wonderful, for something that empowers you moving forward. And in that way, we can start to turn the people in our life, the people that we surround ourselves with, our community, into something that magnifies our lessons and our learnings, that allows us to empower ourselves in very wonderful ways. And if you think about it, in many ways, the stories that we tell ourselves about the worlds that we live in have these different characters, but these characters are really what makes up the community that we surround ourselves with. And this also needs to be something you consider whenever you ask yourself the question, when I go on social media, when I go to the media, when I read books, when I listen to people, who am I listening to? Who am I giving my attention to? Who am I learning from? And when you think that you're not learning, you're learning. Every single minute of the day, you're taking in information. You're taking in emotion. You're taking in inspiration or desperation. You're taking in motivation to do something or to be something or to achieve something. You're constantly taking in information. And so we need to guard against the kind of information, the kind of motivation, the kind of emotion that negatively impacts us. So be very careful in allowing the mentors or allies or antagonists that you experience online into your head, and be very discerning in how you interact and what kind of community you surround yourself with. Because what you want is, despite the fact you can turn a troll or an antagonist into a false antagonist, you want to be able to give yourself all of the opportunities to maximize how many mentors and allies are in your life, so that you have the community that fundamentally supports who you want to be. Because at the end of the day, one of the aspects of the scaled framework of belief leadership is the community piece, the C. This community or culture is what we need to surround ourselves with to believe better. So who are the kind of allies and who are the kind of mentors and false antagonists that you need to surround yourself with so that you can believe in the things worth believing in, so that you can believe in you. You can believe in your potential. You can believe in the future. You can believe in things that allow you to become so much better than you could possibly imagine yourself to be. And so when you start to surround yourself with a community like that, you transform the beliefs that you have about yourself, the stories you tell yourself about yourself, and you start to cultivate the right kind of belief. So I hope you found this episode helpful. If you're enjoying this podcast, please do share it and subscribe and rate and review the episode or the podcast wherever you get your podcast episodes. But most of all, I hope that you can take something from this and you can start to create your own mentor list, your own ally list, and you can transform the antagonists or trolls into false antagonists, which then help you and empower you moving forward. Thank you very much for watching. May the force or listening, depending on how you're interacting or experiencing this, may the force, as always, continue to be with you, and may you continue to believe better. I'm Owen Fitzpatrick. Thank you very much for being here. Bye for now. You've been listening to the Changing Minds podcast. It's now time to recruit some more people into this cult. You can do so by subscribing to the podcast, rate and review it only if you liked it, and share it with your friends, dogs, pet iguanas, and even people you don't like. Keep well, and may you continue to believe better.